So when you're waiting for a lift, imagine if a resident or anyone just comes in, a visitor comes in, waits at the lift, and while the lift is coming, he glances around, there is beautiful artwork to be seen. And that makes a difference. And that is what inspired me to sort of push through, because then we further took it to the lift lobbies of every floor. I said, let's do a theme over there. And they're very open to the ideas and suggestions. So this one is the first of its kind in any building that I've worked in. Hi, this is Arzan Khambatta. I call myself architect by profession and a sculptor by choice. I've been making commissioned sculptures since now I think about 38 years. I've been sculpting since 42 years. And commissioned sculptures are always very special to me because the brief that is given by the architect, the builder, the client directly works as feeding points to sort of come up with the final product. So when Agami approached me for a sculpture for their project, I went for a first meeting. I saw the site. It was very raw at that time. They were still at the foundation stage. But what they showed me in terms of their concept, in terms of what they had in mind, that is what I think further inspired me to start sketching and doing something for the building itself. They gave me a lot of inputs. Infinity was one of them. That's what they call the building. That's what they want to project. Infinite time, infinite space, infinite happiness, everything. And so I started doing this sculpture because I feel that any builder, any architect who incorporates art within their building has his sight very clear, and it's an absolute definite way of adding more value to the building. Art lends value, art lends oasis. They act like oasis in this concrete jungle of ours. Literally, when you're walking through New York, just for example, there is in plan and in elevation, you're walking through grids. They're only straight lines. Suddenly, when you come to a space and you find there's a sculpture which is red in color and has got sweeps of curves and all that, like what Alexander Calder has done, it gives your mind a break. You don't even realize it, but your mind takes a small break from the daily hustle and bustle. So when you're going by and you're stopping at a traffic signal and you see an island with a beautiful sculpture, you glance at it, your mind takes a break from what is happening. And that is even more important in today's world after having been bombarded by deadlines and competition and etc. Art, like music, adds a break. It gives your mind a little holiday. It is extremely important to be integrated within the cityscape. It is extremely important to be integrated within a building project, within parks, within homes. It makes you think, it makes you relax. That's what it is about. So basically, I've done a lot of commission works for a lot of buildings, but this was the first of its kind. What they wanted me to do was, they showed me the lobby, which is very interesting. I saw the plans, the elevations and everything, and they want to have other artists' works within the lobby and make it like a walkthrough art gallery, which is very interesting. Very few buildings do that, and I'm glad that Agami has taken this step to see this through. And what I told them was, I said, look, go after the quality of the work, go after works which increase enthusiasm in the people who are staying in the building as well as the visitors and the people who come there. And it could become a rolling sort of thing, not something that changes every week, that would be impossible to handle, but something that probably changes every year. You know, so you see a fresh set of artwork in the lobbies. It could be a combination of oils, acrylics, photographs, bas relief sculptures, resin sculptures, metal sculptures, okay? Anything that is easily affordable and can be put and can add value to the place. So when you're waiting for a lift, imagine if a resident or anyone just comes in, a visitor comes in, waits at the lift, and while the lift is coming, he glances around, there is beautiful artwork to be seen. And that makes a difference. And that is what inspired me to sort of push through, because then we further took it to the lift lobbies of every floor. I said, let's do a theme over there. And they're very open to the ideas and suggestions. So this one is the first of its kind in any building that I've worked in. So as regards a common theme for the artwork in the lobbies, I haven't thought of anything as yet, but I wouldn't want to stick to something very concrete, because then it'll restrict the amount of artwork coming in, the kind of flow coming in, because I want it to be as diverse as possible. In fact, I don't want the theme to be there. But one thing I'm looking at, and one thing that I believe in, is happy art. And nothing that is morose, nothing that is dark, something that is very positive, something that adds cheer to the place. and not sort of something that gets you down mood wise. And my work is not like that, and I would not look for work like that to be put in the lobbies as well. So basically, what I have in mind for the art for the lobbies, the curation part of it, is definitely, like I said, not to have any theme. It should be something that's mixed, because the kind of people staying there will be mixed. There'll be housewives, there'll be people who are going to work, there'll be corporates, there'll be probably lawyers, artists, and it should be something that is universal. Nice, happy, positive art that makes them feel good. Even children should be able to appreciate it. So that kind of quality, that kind of work, and we could take it a step forward and probably have a wall dedicated to only the children who are staying over there, and probably their artworks, and change it every 6 months or so. So they are also happy. There is a connect to them staying there. They know that their art is being shown amidst other artists from India and all that. So basically, a lot of these things can happen once we start getting in, and it'll be good art. That I can make sure, and I can tell you for sure that it'll be good art. Maybe you've not heard of the names, but the art will be very good. As soon as you see the space and you get the brief, your mind starts working. Just by default, it starts working automatically. Your designs start coming in. It's not that you take all the info in and then you go to the studio or you go to a quiet place and then the ideas come. So the first thing I had in mind was to do a complete abstract and not to incorporate any figure at all, you know. So, but when I did that, I realized that it's on the corner of the plot. It's actually in a place where the people outside are also going to see it. And I always feel that in a public place, when you add a little figurative work, the interest grows. Okay, it's easy to relate to. And I thought, why not treat the infinity symbol as a feeling which someone holds? And that feeling, I wanted it to look like a kite. So basically, a kite is something that uses the wind around, uses the forces around to soar higher. Okay, so that is what I wanted to elevate. So that's why I did a smaller figure, a higher infinity that overpowers the figure, and it's as if the figure is pulling the infinity towards it. The infinity is pulling the figure away. It's a correlation between the two. And one thing I added was, if you see in the details, the strings of the kite, of the infinity kite, go through the heart of the female form. Okay, and we also debated over whether it should be a female form or a male form, and we came to a female form only because we find that it is the center of the house. It is like the powerhouse of the house, you know, not the male. Of course, everything works, the child also works, everything works, but the female is a proper symbol of like a proper home, you can say, you know. So that's why the figure happened, the infinity symbol happened, and the correlation between the two happened, which I think is wonderful because it's not something that is ever seen. And I feel it'll be a wonderful thing for Agami and for me and for the public to see it and view it as a completely new concept which they've seen for the first time. You know, the biggest challenge to make a commission sculpture is to get the design approved. The making is the secondary part. It's actually two phases. When I'm sketching it, it's so many things together. It's not just lines on a paper. It is basically everything, the environment over there, the scale that I've seen over there, the kind of lines that will come. What if a straight line coincides with a straight line there? It won't work. So automatically all these things are now built in the head as to what will look the best over there. And so then I start my sketches, and like I said, the thought process already starts once you're there, you know, but it takes time to come out on paper. Then when you put your first thoughts down on paper, you go a little back and forth with the client and see sort of what it is that he wants and all that. And 99% of the time it just gels. It just comes about completely well together. Also, very important for the client to trust the artist, which is what happened here. So many times there are a lot of inputs from the client side, from the architect side, which can mar this a little bit, because I think the artist requires to have a little bit of freedom within the scope that is given. Give me pointers. Tell me it should be figurative. Tell me there should be an infinity. Absolutely okay. But then they completely left it to me, which is the beautiful part. And once you do that, of course, whilst you're sketching it, you know that it has to be made in 3D actually. Okay. So then obviously when you're sketching it also the thought comes. Now, once the sketch is approved, everything is approved. Now I have to sit on the floor and see how do I take my curves together. The infinity is a very tricky shape because the one form, like a Mobius strip, merges into the other and comes out. So that to get that form was a little difficult for me, a little tricky to convince my workers to twist the rods this way and that way. Correct? So that took me time. Of course, the first thing is that we always do it in rods. We get the framework in rods. Rods are the 3D lines that we do, correct? That will be the form. So if you just take a rod this way, it's not going to work. The whole plane has to be twisted. And of course the figure, I've been known to do figures since a long time. Either it's a cast figure in bronze or it's a stainless steel frame sculpture, which is what this one is. So again, before I start my fleshing out of the main figure, the lines, the rods is important, because if the rods are not correct, the figure will not come correct. It's like saying that if your lines, your initial lines are not correct, the proportion will go completely whack. So I started off by only using rods and correcting them, tweaking them, sort of seeing them from every side. When you're doing a 2D work, it is only one view. Here I have to see it from every side. The bend of the leg has to be perfect. It has to look good from here. It has to look perfect from here, from anywhere. Okay? Even if the sculpture is against a wall, when I know that the back view is not going to be seen, very important for the whole thing to come through, because then only you'll get a perfect 3D sculpture. So the trick is the proportioning. Let me put it that way. The trick is the proportioning, and once you have the lines, then like a tailor, when you have the paper cuts, you start making the farmas and you start adding it, then that work comes in, which is a little more mechanical than the initial one. And of course then the finishing, the buffing and all that. So it's a process. What you see, the final work, is something, and what has gone into it is a lot more. This one is tremendously detailed, how the joints have been taken. It's not all just welded together in one way, you know. So these pieces which go on the human body, they're not flat pieces. Each piece has been hammered and curved like the muscles of a human to sort of give you that beautiful body structure, because it's a female. It has to look strong, it has to look delicate as well. You know, so that's where the challenge is, the proportioning and the correct image to be given finally. So when a person sees it, there is no doubt that it is not a man. There is no doubt that she's being pulled away by the infinity, or whether the infinity is being pulled by her. It's a perfect correlation, the angle, everything matters. So that doesn't come about in the sketch so well as it does in the actual 3D. Yeah.